wig is hot. This wig is hot. This wig is hot and itchy. This wig is hot. This wig is itchy. My glasses are smudged. My tea's too hot. So I'll put some, my cover broke. Remember yesterday when I turned it upside down to disperse the tea? It was leaking. It's because the inside plastic part has come loose from the bamboo top. And so it just keeps going around. The wood part just keeps going around. Well, I shoved it back in so now it won't come out, but it's loosened. I don't know. Okay. So when it was leaking, it's because I thought it was loose, but it wasn't. I have to just keep turning and turning it to make sure the plastic screwy part is tight, because the wooden top is loose. I'm going to show you. See? It came unglued. Ooh, I can see the glue flakes on the side. Can you see the glue? And they're on here too. Glue flakes. See, it came loose. Not a big deal, but kind of annoying when you're trying to twist it shut. And you have to put some water in here. It's boiling and it will stay boiling forever. Oh, I spilled. Chapter 6 is really long compared to the other chapters, so we might just read chapter 6. Let me count the pages. Chapter 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are thick pages. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. There's 13 pages in chapter 6, whereas chapter 5 was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It just looks a lot longer. We're going to read it all, but I might not do chapter 7 tonight. I forgot to put my paper in. Remember, last night's chapter, we did chapter 4 and 5. 5 was, what is the nature of the present heaven? And then chapter 6 tonight will be, is the present heaven a physical place? But it's only 7:47, so I'm going to wait a while. Itch. This is a lot itchier than that other wig I had on. Oh, I got a little black flower. It's made of lace. It's like this pink one I had on the other day. Only it's black. Thank you. Dollarium or dollarium? That's where I got it. I don't know. Sometimes I say dollarium and sometimes I say dollarium. I'm writing it down. How would you pronounce it? What accent would you put the what syllable would you put the accent on? The accent. Dollarium or dollarium? Delirium. Oh man, I'm really hot. Just put my birdie to bed. I could read something else while we wait for 8 o'clock. I'll show you what tea I have. Let me show you what tea I have tonight. I mixed peppermint and creamy vanilla. Okay. Peppermint and creamy vanilla with Rose tea. I like this wooden box. It just smells like roses. Ingredients. Hello. Ingredients. Wait a minute. Box made of heat treated wood, December 2023. Oh, best before Jan 2029. Product of Sri Lanka. Pure Ceylon tea. I don't know if that's how you pronounce that. Where are the ingredients? Hey. Oh, maybe it's on the inside. I'm afraid I'm going to get a splinter. Is it on the inside? Good tea tastes better. No, it's not on the inside. It smells nice. It just smells like roses. But I could have sworn there was an ingredients on it. They have to put the ingredients on it. Add sugar and the Metropolitan Tea Company. And it has all these seals on it. Some filter paper. Anyway, I like the box. I like the wood box. You can use it, or yeah, when it's empty, I can use it for something else. What's that? Oh, my Triscuits. What's that? And then, I didn't know if I wanted rose or lavender. Lavender makes me too sleepy, so I chose rose. Hopefully soon I can drink it. So if anyone's here, please say hello. Ooh, hello. Please. And if you are here, please say hello and also let me know if there's a lag in the chat or if it's laggy in some way, because it was last night. Hi, Dixie. Can you hear me? Are we good? I'm excited to read chapter 6. Hey. Hi, Cardzilla. Okay, great. Super. Because last night there was some kind of a lag with the chat and it made it not so fun. I would say things and then 15 minutes later or 10 minutes later, I would get a reply from Dixie, but I didn't know what she was replying to because I forgot what I said. We still got about 8 minutes. Did I show you my Bible that I got last year? I think last year, yes. I wanted a pretty Bible. Now, I wanted the King James Version because of the flowery, old-fashioned language, but it is a bit harder takes longer to read. Although it has little footnotes, that's the word I was looking for the other day with the other book, to explain what some of the maybe lesser known, like older language would mean, the way you'd say it modernly. Just popping guys. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for listening and hopefully giving a thumbs up. I know it's a thing when you're a YouTube creator or whatever to say, please comment, like, and subscribe. I just can't. I can't bring myself to. But if you do, that is always helpful. Thanks. Even if your comment is not positive, I never delete comments. Sometimes when I get mean comments, I pin them so everyone sees them at the top. Now, what is up? Do you guys see a little crown and a number beside your name? That must be some kind of new YouTube feature. Because Dixie Keller, you have a number 1 beside your crown. Maybe that means you've commented the most, but that can't be because I know Samuel has commented the most over all my live videos. He is quite a talker. Yeah. Oh, maybe that's just like when you entered the chat. You got here first, so you're number one. So this dollar store that I go to is called, well, I wrote it down there. I don't know if you can see it. Sometimes I call it dollarium, and sometimes I call it dollarium. I don't know. I think it means when you got in the chat. So you're like, you have seniority here or something. How would you say that? Dollarium or dollarium, or a completely different way altogether? So yes, I bought it for myself. So it says, presented to Nancy Call by Nancy Call on the occasion of life. Date February 3rd, 2024. And then I have a card from my aunt's memorial. That's my Aunt Elizabeth. My wonderful Aunt Elizabeth. I can't believe it's been 2 years since she passed away. None of my aunts watch this, so it's okay. She was the best aunt ever. I mean, I love all my aunts, but she's the one I was most like. We could relate the most. And I miss talking to her on the phone. My old phone. Oh, wait. I don't know if when I got a new phone, my voicemail, like the things I had saved are gone. I don't know, because I couldn't save anything in my old phone. It just completely broke. So I didn't get to save anything, transfer anything. It just went straight into the garbage. And so I think all my voicemail is gone because I kept one from her last voicemail. But she wrote out her memoirs. Well, she said them, I think. And my cousin, her daughter, recorded her talking and then transcribed it all. And I have a copy of it, and she put in photographs and stuff. I haven't finished reading it. I don't know why I haven't finished reading it, because I'll cry at the end, I guess. So that's my Bible. It has a nice little... my bookmark is way at the end because I went to Revelations. It's got a nice pink ribbon bookmark and gold edges. I like the Bibles and any kind of reference book as well that has the little thumb indentation. Yeah, I really want to get is it NIV? The one that's more modern language. This one's beautiful, poetic, more poetic. But I would like something that's just easier to ingest, digest. Okay, let us begin, shall we? At the end of chapter 5, Randy told us what we were going to be talking about in chapter 6. I got my pen and my paper. Oh, and I will share it with you after, but first I found James Earl Jones reading the entire Bible. But it was a bit like ominous because of his voice, his deep voice. Whoa, man, it stressed me out a little. So I found one read by this other actor. I guess he was in like some Agatha Christie movies and other things. British actor. I don't know how to say his last name. It sounds French. And if I were American and tried to say it, I'd say David Suchet. But I know it's not pronounced like that. And he has this beautiful, gentle British voice that is so calming, and I fell asleep listening to the Bible. And I will share that whole playlist after, because when I was asleep, it was still playing, so maybe it got in my head somehow. I don't know. Oh, why do I keep doing that? No, we're not that far. Okay, at the end of chapter 5, he says, Because the question of the physical nature of the present heaven is important and controversial, we'll take a closer look at it in the next chapter. I really want to drink that tea. Smells like the peppermint is kind of overpowering the rose, smell-wise. The rose doesn't have much taste, but it has a beautiful smell, and I just find it calming. Okay, here we go. It's 1 minute till 8. Should I start? I'm going to start. Chapter 6. Is the present heaven a physical place? For the entrance of the greater world is why. Chapter 6. Is the heaven This is what I could never do. When I was young, I wanted to be an actress, and I always thought theater would be fun. But you can't do retakes. If I was on a TV show or something, I would waste so much film unintentionally, and I would be so scared of wasting everyone's time and money and film that it would just make me screw up more. Chapter 6. Is the present heaven a physical place? For the entrance of the greater world is wide and sure, and they who see the straightness and the painfulness from which they have been delivered must wonder exceedingly as they are received into those large rooms with joy and immortality. Amy Carmichael. After reading one of my books, a missionary wrote to me, deeply troubled that I thought heaven might be a physical place. In our correspondence, no matter how many scripture passages I pointed to, it didn't matter. He'd always been taught that heaven was spiritual and therefore not physical. To suggest otherwise was, in his mind, to commit hearsay. My concern was not so much that he believed the present heaven isn't physical. Maybe he's right. Rather, it was that he seemed convinced that if heaven were physical, it would be less sacred and special. He viewed physical and spiritual as opposites. When I asked him to demonstrate from Scripture why heaven cannot be a physical place, he told me the answer was very simple. Because God is spirit. John 4:24. He believed that verse settled the question once and for all. But saying that God is spirit is very different from saying that heaven is spirit. Heaven, after all, is not the same as God. God created heaven. Therefore, he did not always dwell there. Though God chooses to dwell in heaven, he does not need a dwelling place. However, as finite humans, we do. It's no problem for the all-powerful God, a spirit, to dwell in a spiritual realm or a physical realm, or a realm that includes both. The real question is whether people, being by nature both spiritual and physical, can dwell in a realm without physical properties. The physical new earth will be our ultimate dwelling place, but until then, we shouldn't find it surprising if God chooses to provide a waiting place that's also physical. For us to exist as human beings, we occupy space. It seems reasonable to infer that the space we occupy would be physical. If the present intermediate heaven is a place where God, angels, and humans dwell, it makes sense that heaven would be accommodated to mankind, because God needs no accommodation. We know that angels can exist in a physical world because they exist in this one, not just in heaven. In fact, angels sometimes, perhaps often, take on human form. If we are to draw inferences about the nature of heaven, we shouldn't derive them from the nature of God. After all, he is a one-of-a-kind being who is infinite, existing outside of space and time. Rather, we should base our deductions on the nature of humanity. It's no problem for the infinite God to dwell wherever mankind dwells. The question is whether finite humans can exist as God does, outside of space and time. I'm not certain we can, but I am certain that if we can, it is only as a temporary aberration that will be permanently corrected by our bodily resurrection in preparation for life on the new earth. Why are we so resistant to the idea that heaven could be physical? I would hope that it would be. If I had to choose between physical and spiritual, I would choose physical because it would be less scary. I get scared easily. That's one of the things I'm scared of is dying because I'm afraid I'm going to have a panic attack while I die. Gosh, I feel like it'll be dramatic enough as it is without having a super duper panic attack. Why are we so resistant to the idea that heaven could be physical? The answer, I believe, is centered in an unbiblical belief that the spirit realm is good and the material world is bad, a view I am calling, oh man, why are you calling it that? Christoplatonism. Please don't, I was going to say, please don't ever use that word again, but I see he uses it again. Okay, how are we going to say this? Christoplatonism. For a discussion of Christoplatonism's false assumptions, see Appendix A. For our purposes in this chapter, I will summarize this belief that looms like a dark cloud over the common view of heaven. Plato, the Greek philosopher, believed that material things, including the human body and the earth, are evil, while immaterial things such as the soul and heaven are good. This view is called Platonism. Platonism. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that properly. I'm just doing it phonetically. Remember Hooked on Phonics? Remind me of that because I want to look at the commercials. Call 1-800-HOOKED on ABCDEFG. And then there was Hooked on Monkey Phonics on South Park. People who are listening to this after and just want to hear the book are going to get so angry with me. Please don't be angry with me. It's a very early South Park. They were having like big spelling bee. And Cartman was having problems with his spelling. So he got hooked on monkey phonics and it came with a monkey. Anyway, I must watch it again. And Appendix A. The Christian Church, highly influenced by Platonism, through the teachings of Philo, circa 20 BC to AD 50, and Origen, well, it looks like Origen. Let me write it down. Origen, among others, came to embrace the spiritual view that human spirits are better off without bodies, and that heaven is a disembodied state. They rejected the notion of heaven as a physical realm and spiritualized or entirely neglected the biblical teaching of resurrected people inhabiting a resurrected earth. Christoplatonism has had a devastating effect on our ability to understand what Scripture says about heaven, particularly about the eternal heaven, the new earth. A fine Christian man said to me, "This idea of having bodies and eating food and being in an earthly place, it just sounds so unspiritual." Without knowing it, he was under the influence of Christoplatonism. If we believe, even subconsciously, that bodies and the earth and material things are unspiritual, even evil, then we will inevitably reject or spiritualize any biblical revelation about our bodily resurrection or the physical or the physical characteristics of the new earth. That's exactly what has happened in most Christian churches, and it's a large reason for our failure to come to terms with a biblical doctrine of heaven. Christoplatonism has also closed our minds to the possibility that the present heaven may actually be a physical realm. If we look at Scripture, however, we'll see considerable evidence that the present heaven has physical properties. Okay, I like this guy's book, but do you find that he repeats himself a lot? And maybe that's why the book is. He's saying the same thing over and over again. Maybe to drive it home. Maybe to fill a word quota. I don't know. Heaven as substance, earth as a shadow. In his 17th century classic, Paradise Lost, John Milton describes Eden as a garden full of aromatic flowers, delicious fruit, and soft grass, lushly watered. He also connects Eden with heaven, the source of earthly existence, portraying heaven as a place of great pleasures and the source of earth's pleasures. In Milton's story, the angel Raphael asks Adam, "What if earth be but the shadow of heaven, and things therein, each to other like, more than on earth is thought?" There's a reason I never read Paradise Lost, because just that little bit, I have to reread it a bazillion times to make sense of it. It's like reading Shakespeare. What if earth be but the shadow of heaven, and things therein where? Earth or heaven? And things therein each to other like, more than on earth is thought. That's too hard for me to, like, at the beginning, the first half of it makes sense, but then just the way the words are organized. Maybe if I was born in the 17th century, it would make more sense. Though the idea of earth as heaven's shadow is seldom discussed, even in books on heaven, it's a concept that has biblical support. For example, the temple in heaven is filled with smoke from the glory of God. Revelation 15:8. Is this a figurative temple with figurative smoke? Or is there an actual fire creating literal smoke in a real building? We're told there are scrolls in heaven, elders who have faces, martyrs who wear clothes, and even people with palm branches in their hands. Revelation 7:9. There are musical instruments in the present heaven. Revelation 8:6. Horses coming into and out of heaven, and an eagle flying overhead in heaven. Perhaps some of these objects are merely symbolic with no corresponding physical reality. But is that true of all of them? I started saying what do you call it when that he puts in brackets, Revelation 7:9, Revelation 8:6. What is the word for that? I kept reading but then there's like so many of them that I won't read those. Many commentators dismiss the possibility that any of these passages in Revelation should be taken literally, on the grounds that it is apocalyptic literature, which is known for its figures of speech. But the book of Hebrews isn't apocalyptic, it's epistolary. We're going to learn how to pronounce a word. Epistolary. Epistolary. It seems like usually when I look up a word, it's a lady saying it. Now it seems to be a man all the time. wonder if you can, like, probably you can change it. Epistolary. Epistolary. Okay. But the book of Hebrews isn't apocalyptic, it's epistolary. It says that earthly priests serve at a sanctuary that is a copy and shadow of what is in heaven. Moses was told, in building the earthly tabernacle, see to it that you make everything according to the pattern shown you on the mountain. If that which was built after the pattern was physical, might it suggest the original was also physical? The book of Hebrews seems to say that we should see earth as a derivative realm and heaven as the source realm. If we do, we'll abandon the assumption that something existing in one realm cannot exist in the other. In fact, we'll consider it likely that what exists in one realm exists in at least some form in the other. We should stop thinking of heaven and earth as opposites and instead view them as overlapping circles that share certain commonalities. Christ went through the greater and more perfect tabernacle that is not man-made, that is to say, not a part of this creation. Christ did not enter a man-made sanctuary that was only a copy of the true one. He entered heaven itself. The earthly sanctuary was a copy of the true one in heaven. In fact, the new Jerusalem that will be brought down to the new earth is currently in the intermediate or present heaven. If we know that the new Jerusalem will be physically on the new earth, and we also know that it is in the present heaven, does that not suggest the new Jerusalem is currently physical? Why wouldn't it be? Unless we start with an assumption that heaven can't be physical, it seems that this evidence would persuade us that it is indeed physical. These verses in Hebrews suggest that God created earth in the image of heaven, just as he created mankind in his image. C.S. Lewis proposed that the hills and valleys of heaven will be to those you now experience, not as a copy is to an original, nor as a substitute is to the genuine article, but as the flower to the root, or the diamond to the coal. This guy really likes referencing C.S. Lewis. I didn't even look him up, but I read something about him today on the internet. Something referenced C.S. Lewis. I don't remember what. And it mentioned the Screw Tape Letters. And I was like, oh, right, that's another book he wrote. I'd never read it, but I've heard of it because I couldn't think of anything except Narnia. The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Often our thinking is backwards. Why do we imagine that God patterns heaven's holy city after an earthly city, as if heaven knows nothing of community and culture and has to get its ideas from us? Isn't it more likely that earthly realities, including cities, are derived from heavenly counterparts? We tend to start with earth and reason up toward heaven, when instead we should start with heaven and reason down toward earth. It isn't merely an accommodation to our earthly familial structure, for instance, that God calls himself a father and us children. On the contrary, he created father-child relationships to display his relationship with us, just as he created human marriage to reveal the love relationship between Christ and his bride. In my novel, Safely Home, I envision the relationship between earth and heaven. Compared to what he now beheld, the world he'd come from was a land of shadows, colorless and two-dimensional. This place was fresh and captivating, resonating with color and beauty. He could not only see and hear it, but feel and smell and taste it. every hillside, every mountain, every waterfall, every frolicking animal in the fields seemed to beckon him to come join them, to come from the outside and plunge into the inside. This whole world had the feel of cool water on a blistering August afternoon. The light beckoned him to dive in with abandon, to come join the great adventure. I know what this is, Quan said. Tell me, said the carpenter. It's the substance that casts all those shadows in the other world. The circles there are copies of the spheres here. The squares there are copies of the cubes here. The triangles there are copies of the pyramids here. Earth was a flat land. This is, well, the inside is bigger than the outside, isn't it? How many dimensions are there? Far more than you have seen yet, the king said, laughing. This is the place that defines and gives meaning to all places, Li Quan said. I never imagined it would be like this. How's everyone doing? I can taste the rose. I taste rose. I taste a mintiness. I taste no vanilla. Does paradise suggest a physical place? During the crucifixion, when Jesus said to the thief on the cross, "Today you will be with me in paradise," he was referring to the present heaven. But why did he call it paradise, and what did he mean? The word paradise comes from the Persian word paradisia. Let me write it, okay? I don't know. It looks Portuguese to me. Meaning a walled park or enclosed garden. It was used to describe the great walled garden of the Persian king Cyrus's royal palaces. In the Septuagint, the Greek translation of the Old Testament, the Greek word for paradise is used to describe the Garden of Eden. Later, because of the Jewish belief that God would restore Eden, paradise became the word to describe the eternal state of the righteous, and to a lesser extent, the present heaven. The word paradise does not refer to wild nature, but to nature under mankind's dominion. The garden or park was not left to grow entirely on its own. People brought their creativity to bear on managing, cultivating, and presenting the garden or park. The idea of a walled garden, writes Oxford professor Alistair McGrath, enclosing a carefully cultivated area of exquisite plants and animals, was the most powerful symbol of paradise available to the human imagination, mingling the images of the beauty of nature with the orderliness of human construction. The whole of human history is thus enfolded in the subtle interplay of sorrow over a lost paradise and the hope of its final restoration. In the Judaism of the New Testament era, the site of reopened paradise is almost without exception the earth. The belief in resurrection gave assurance that all the righteous, even those who are dead, would have a share in the reopened paradise. Paradise was not generally understood as mere allegory with a metaphorical or spiritual meaning, but as an actual physical place where God and his people lived together, surrounded by physical beauty, enjoying great pleasures and happiness. God says, "To him who overcomes, I will give the right to eat from the tree of life, which is in the paradise of God. The same physical tree of life that was in the Garden of Eden will one day be in the New Jerusalem on the new earth. Now it is in the intermediate or present heaven. Shouldn't we assume it has the same physical properties it had in the Garden of Eden and will have in the New Jerusalem? If it doesn't, could it be called the tree of life? We are told that after the fall, God drove the man out, and at the east of the Garden of Eden, he stationed the cherubim and the flaming sword which turned every direction to guard the way to the tree of life. It appears that Eden's paradise, with the tree of life, retained its identity as a physical place but was no longer accessible to mankind. It was guarded by cherubim, who are residents of heaven, where God is enthroned between the cherubim. Am I saying cherubim right? I think so. Is that little cherubs? Eden was not destroyed. What was destroyed was mankind's ability to live in Eden. There's no indication that Eden was stripped of its physicality and transformed into a spiritual entity. It appears to have remained just as it was, a physical paradise removed to a realm we can't gain access to, most likely the present heaven, because we know for certain that's where the tree of life now is. God is not done with Eden. He preserved it not as a museum piece, but as a place that mankind will one day occupy again, and to a certain extent may now occupy in the present heaven. Because we're told that the tree of life will be located in the New Jerusalem on both sides of a great river, it seems likely that the original Eden may be a great park at the center of the city. If we know the tree that distinguished Eden will be there, why not Eden itself? This would fit perfectly with the statement in Revelation 2:7 that the tree of life is presently in paradise. Though the rest of the earth fell under human sin, Eden was for some reason treated differently. Perhaps it had come from heaven, God's dwelling place, and was transplanted to earth. We don't know. But we do know this: God came to Eden to visit with Adam and Eve, which he would no longer do after Adam and Eve were banished from the garden after the fall. Whether or not Eden was created along with the rest of the earth, clearly it was special to God, and it remains special to him. The tree of life's presence in the New Jerusalem establishes that elements of Eden, as physical as the original, will again be part of the human experience. The presence of the tree of life in the present heaven suggests that heaven too has physical properties and is capable of containing physical objects. I'm hoping that he'll do more like this person wrote to me and said this and more analogies, because I like analogies. Oh, it's still hot, 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 hot. Do people have intermediate bodies in the present heaven? Unlike God and the angels, who are in essence spirits, human beings are by nature both spiritual and physical. God did not create Adam as a spirit and place it inside a body. Rather, he first created a body, then breathed into it a spirit. There never was a moment when a human being existed without a body. Neurophysiological studies reveal an intimate connection between the body and what has historically been referred to as the soul, which include the mind, emotions, will, intentionality, and capacity to worship. It appears that we are not essentially spirits who inhabit bodies, but we are essentially as much physical as we are spiritual. We cannot be fully human without both a spirit and a body. Given the consistent physical descriptions of the present heaven and those who dwell there, it seems possible, though this is certainly debatable, that between our earthly life and our bodily resurrection, God may grant us some physical form that will allow us to function as human beings while in that unnatural state between bodies, awaiting our resurrection. Just as the intermediate state is a bridge between life on the old earth and the new earth, perhaps intermediate bodies, or at least a physical form of some sort, serve as bridges between our present bodies and our resurrected bodies. The Apostle Paul says, "Meanwhile we groan, longing to be clothed with our heavenly dwelling, because when we are clothed, we will not be found naked. For while we are in this tent, we groan and are burdened, because we do not wish to be unclothed, but to be clothed with our heavenly dwelling, so that what is mortal may be swallowed up by life." Some take this to mean that the intermediate state is a condition of disembodied nakedness. They may well be right. Others, however, believe that Paul is longing to be with Christ, but he cannot long for a state of platonic nakedness, which he considers repugnant. Thus, they understand Paul to be saying that at death we are immediately clothed by a heavenly dwelling, whether heaven itself or an intermediate form, in which we will await our resurrection. Can I just go back 2 pages? Because there was one of these little thingies within the text that I forgot to read. The church is constantly being tempted to accept this world as her home, but if she is wise, she will consider that she stands in the valley between the mountain peaks of eternity past and eternity to come. The past is gone forever, and the present is passing as swift as the shadow on the sundial of Ahaz. Even if the earth should continue 1,000,000 years, not one of us could stand to enjoy it. We do well to think of the long tomorrow. There is evidence that suggests the latter position could be correct about being clothed and naked and all that. For instance, the martyrs in heaven are described as wearing clothes. Disembodied spirits don't wear clothes. Many consider the clothes purely symbolic of being covered in Christ's righteousness. Of course, they could also be real clothes with symbolic meaning, just as the Ark of the Covenant had symbolic meaning, but was also a real physical object. Because these martyrs are also called souls, some insist that they must be disembodied spirits. But the Greek word, I'm not even going to attempt it. The Greek word Psuche. Whoops. Not even going to attempt to say that word. Tell me how to pronounce it. Thank you. I'll have to go to video to see how to pronounce it.
And how to pronounce these words and more confusing words from ancient Greek that many mispronounce.
Just say the word, man.
So make sure to stay tuned to the channel to learn more. In Greek, it is said as shuka, shuka,
Shuka.
shuka.
Shuka. Shuka. Shuka. Sorry. Let me write it in for you, okay? Like I went on and on about, please subscribe to my channel for more confusing words. Suka. Suka. We'll just say suka, okay? We won't try to sound Greek. But the Greek word suka, here translated soul, does not normally mean disembodied spirit. On the contrary, it is typically used of a whole person who has both body and spirit, or of animals, which are physical beings. It is used in Revelation 12:11 to describe the martyrs who did not love their lives so much as to shrink from death. Because death relates to their physical bodies, not their spirits, which would not die, the emphasis is more on their bodies than on their spirits. According to the Theological Dictionary of the New Testament, suka does not carry with it any clear distinction between a non-corporeal and I have to learn how to say words. I gotta call my dad. He knows every word. You know what my dad's nickname was? The Oracle. I can't hear you. How come the lady isn't saying it? Say it, lady. I'm pressing the button so the lady will say it, but she's not saying it. Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me? Because I have no sound coming when this lady's supposed to be saying corporeal, 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 corporeal. So sorry. Corporeal. Suka does not carry with it any clear distinction between a non-corporeal and a corporeal state. The reference is not to a part of man that has survived death, but to the total existence of man. It appears the Apostle John had a body when he visited heaven, because he is said to have grasped, held, eaten, and tasted things there. To assume this is all figurative language is not a restriction demanded by the text, but only by our presupposition that heaven isn't a physical place. For a discussion of literal and figurative interpretation, see Appendix B. I'm going to take a small hair break. We still got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Still got 5 pages left. This is a biggie. This chapter is a biggie. So, do you have any questions about heaven? I sound like I'm going to answer it myself, but or anything, any topics or things that you hope he will discuss as we go on with the book? I told you some of mine, like about animals in heaven and children and who we're going to hang out with. He was talking about hanging out with family and friends in heaven. I'm like, I want to hang out with more people than that. Do you have like are there cliques in heaven? Is there popularity in heaven? Because I don't want it to be like high school, that's for sure. I keep making jokes, but I make jokes about everything. It's just me. I am taking it seriously, though. I can be serious and jokey at the same time. Like I was talking to my dad about death the other day. We got onto the topic of funerals and cremation and stuff like that. But yeah, I was making jokes about it too, because that's what I do. Doesn't mean I don't think it's a serious topic or I'm making fun of it. That's just the way I do things. Oh, did I tell you there's this beautiful fountain, like 7-minute walk if I'm walking slowly away from me? Because I took a different route. I always take the same routes when I'm walking to go places, but this time I took a different route. a circuitous route. And there's this beautiful, it's a very small park, but it has a beautiful fountain with, were they swans? No, they're ducks. It came from France. Built in the 1800 something, 1865 or something like that. And the people brought it over. They came to Quebec and they took it apart and brought it with them. I don't know where it was at first, but it's in this park now. Feel free to share any opinions you have, or if you have a different opinion than him. Because, like, I have not read the Bible in full. I have not studied the Bible. I'm not familiar with it. I mean, there's certain names I know and stories, like everyone knows Noah's Ark and all that. And David and Goliath and all them. Adam and Eve. But there's a lot I don't know. So, yeah. In the Apostle Paul's account of being caught up to the present heaven, which he calls the third heaven, he expresses uncertainty about whether he'd had a body there or not. Whether in the body or apart from the body, I do not know, but God knows. The fact that he thought he might have had a body in heaven is significant. He certainly didn't dismiss the thought as impossible, as Plato would have. His uncertainty might suggest that he sensed he had a physical form in heaven that was body-like, but somehow different from his earthly body. If he had been nothing but spirit in heaven, it's unlikely he would say he wasn't certain whether or not he'd had a body there. If those in heaven are granted temporary forms, and I recognize it only as a possibility, it would in no way minimize the absolute necessity or critical importance of our future bodily resurrection, which Paul emphatically establishes in 1 Corinthians 15:12-32. In fact, it would only be on the basis of the certainty of a future resurrection that temporary bodies might be given, just as in Old Testament times, the certainty of Christ's future death and resurrection permitted those people who otherwise would have been hellbound to enter paradise. We do not receive resurrection bodies immediately after death. Resurrection is not one at a time. If we have intermediate forms in the intermediate heaven, they won't be our true bodies, which have died. Wonder if they have mirrors in heaven. Continuity is only between our original and resurrection bodies. If we are given intermediate forms, they are at best temporary vessels, comparable to the human-appearing bodies that angels sometimes take on, distinct from our true bodies, which remain dead until our resurrection. Is there stuff about being like cremated in the Bible? People died then. How did they just buried people? Or were people cremated? I don't know. Are we in sync? I hope we are. We have been so far. Remember at the beginning I said, "Can you hear me?" And you answered right away. Are we in sync? We're okay? Okay, good. Yeah. Because it was kind of a bummer when we weren't in sync yesterday. I think so too. A fundamental article of the Christian faith is that the resurrected Christ now dwells in heaven. We are told that his resurrected body on earth was physical, and that this same physical Jesus ascended to heaven, from which he will one day return to earth. It seems indisputable, then, to say that there is at least one physical body in the present heaven. If Christ's body in the present heaven had physical properties, it stands to reason that others in heaven might have physical forms as well, even if only temporary ones. It also makes sense that other aspects of the present heaven would have physical properties. So that, for example, when Christ is seen standing at the right hand of God, he is actually standing on something. Otherwise, we would have to conclude that the resurrected, and thus embodied, Christ has been floating for 2,000 years in a realm without material substance. He could, of course, but does he? If we know there's physical substance in heaven, namely Christ's body, can we not also assume that other references to physical objects in heaven, including physical forms and clothing, are literal rather than figurative? So interesting. Enoch, Elijah, and Moses. Enoch and Elijah appear to have been taken to heaven in their physical bodies. Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him. Apparently, Enoch's body was not left behind to bury. The Septuagint, that's that Greek, translates it as Enoch was not found. Hebrews 11:5 explicitly says that Enoch didn't die. By faith, Enoch was taken away so that he did not see death, and was not found because God had taken him. Similarly, Elijah was taken to heaven without dying and without leaving a body behind. Elijah went up by a whirlwind into heaven. And, okay, Elijah and how do you say them? Elijah, like Elijah Wood with the J. And then there's Elisha. How do you pronounce that? Okay, I'm not 100% sure. We do not know how bodies under the curse could be taken to heaven, but doesn't it appear that they were, since no bodies were left behind? Our spirits are also under the curse, but based on Christ's redemptive work, they are allowed entrance to heaven. Perhaps God extended the same grace to allow the bodies of Enoch and Elijah into the intermediate heaven. If that is the case, they may even now be living in pre-resurrected bodies in heaven, just as Christ is living there in his resurrected body. Think about it. It's like mind-blowing to think, as we're sitting here, these people are in heaven doing things. Doesn't it blow your mind when you really think about it? It blows mine. It blows my mind. I mean, it's hard to get your head around something like that, right? Unless you've thought about it at length. Given that at least one and perhaps three people now have bodies in heaven, isn't it possible that others might be given physical forms as well? Moses and Elijah appeared physically with Christ at the Transfiguration. Because they'd already gone to heaven, Moses having died and Elijah having been taken from earth in a whirlwind, if souls in the present heaven are disembodied, God would have had to create temporary bodies for them when they came from heaven to be with Jesus on the mountain. If so, they would have gone from being disembodied to embodied, and after the transfiguration, become disembodied again to await the final resurrection. A second possibility is that Moses and Elijah came to earth in the same temporary bodies they already had in heaven. In Elijah's case, his temporary body might even have been his original earthly body, which had never died. If Moses and Elijah came to earth with the same temporary bodies they had in heaven, they could have returned to heaven just as they were. Did their joining Christ on earth require them to become something else, or did it simply involve their coming somewhere else? Was it that they were temporarily embodied or merely temporarily relocated? The physical presence of Moses and Elijah at the Transfiguration seems to demonstrate beyond question that God at least sometimes creates intermediate bodies for people to inhabit prior to the resurrection of the dead, even if only for Moses and Elijah and only while they were on earth. The question is whether these temporary bodies were granted only to Moses and Elijah while they were on the mountain, or whether temporary bodies are granted to everyone in the present heaven. What can we learn from the rich man and Lazarus? In the New Testament account of the rich man and Lazarus, Jesus ascribes physical properties to people who have died. And we're going into, I don't think this is taken straight from the Bible. What it says, this is from Luke 16, 19 to 31. There was a rich man who was dressed in purple and fine linen and lived in luxury every day. At his gate was laid a beggar named Lazarus, covered with sores and longing to eat what fell from the rich man's table. Even the dogs came and licked his sores. The time came when the beggar died, and the angels carried him to Abraham's side. The rich man also died and was buried. In hell, where he was in torment, he looked up and saw Abraham far away with Lazarus by his side. So he called to him, "Father Abraham, have pity on me and send Lazarus to dip the tip of his finger in water and cool my tongue, because I am in agony in this fire." But Abraham replied, "Son, remember that in your lifetime you received your good things, while Lazarus received bad things. But now he is comforted here, and you are in agony. And besides all this, between us and you a great chasm has been fixed, so that those who want to go from here to you cannot, nor can anyone cross over from there to us." He answered, "Then I beg you, Father, send Lazarus to my father's house, for I have 5 brothers. Let him warn them so that they will not also come to this place of torment." Abraham replied, "They have Moses and the prophets. Let them listen to them." "No, Father Abraham," he said, "but if someone from the dead goes to them, they will repent." He said to him, "If they do not listen to Moses and the prophets, they will not be convinced even if someone rises from the dead." Some believe this story is nothing more than a parable intended to convey a central idea about the after-death consequences of our choices made on earth. They believe that Lazarus and the rich man were not real people, and that references to fire, thirst, finger, and tongue are not intended as physical realities. I certainly don't believe that every biblical account should be taken literally. For a more complete discussion of this, see Appendix B, Literal and Figurative Interpretation. And I certainly agree there is much figurative language in this passage. However, I also think it's a mistake to dismiss the parable as strictly figurative based on assumptions that the afterlife consists of disembodied people in a non-physical realm. Jesus could easily have portrayed the rich man and Lazarus in other ways. He could have said, When Lazarus died, his spirit drifted without a body into a realm without sin and pain. But he didn't. It seems unlikely that Jesus would have depicted the afterlife in such concrete detail if it had nothing to teach us concerning the nature of heaven and hell. Did you know that this is the only parable Jesus told in which he gave a specific name to someone in the story? Naming Lazarus suggests that Jesus was speaking of a real man who had that name. Furthermore, if the events in this story didn't actually happen, if Jesus made up the name for the poor man, why would he choose the name Lazarus, the name of his close friend, who was actually a rich man, not a poor man? Jesus knew that Lazarus, the brother of Mary and Martha, would die and Jesus would raise him from the dead. Using Lazarus's name would inevitably create confusion. Two different Lazaruses who die and live again, one in paradise, the other on earth. When Jesus could have chosen from hundreds of other names, it seems doubtful he would have invented a name that would unnecessarily confuse. The best explanation for why Jesus called the man Lazarus may be this: he was a real man, and that was his name. If so, it increases the probability that Jesus was telling us about what actually happened to two men after they died. Consider the story's major components, and these are in point form. When Lazarus died, angels carried him to paradise. The rich man died and went to a place of torment. Lazarus is with Abraham, and by inference, others. The rich man is by himself. No one else is mentioned. The intermediate heaven and hell are separated by a fixed chasm, but in this case, people on both sides could see and communicate with each other, at least on a limited basis. It's possible this was granted to Abraham and the rich man as an exception, not the norm. We shouldn't build a doctrine on it because it's not supported by other references. Both the rich man and Abraham reasoned and communicated, and they maintained their distinct identities from earth, as did Lazarus, indicating direct continuity from their earthly lives to their afterlives. The rich man and Lazarus are depicted as having physical forms. The rich man had a tongue and a thirst that he wished to satisfy with water. Lazarus had a finger, and there was water available to him in paradise into which he might dip his finger. Of course, these references may be entirely figurative, but they might also suggest the possession of transitional physical forms existing in a physical paradise to sustain and manifest human identity between death and resurrection. The rich man certainly remembers and possibly sees his lost brothers. He expresses concern for their welfare and asks that Lazarus be sent to warn them. This indicates consciousness after death and clear memory of earth and people on earth. Abraham says that no one can cross the gap between heaven and hell. The problem with a strictly literal interpretation of this passage is that it presses too far, suggesting things that are unlikely and not taught elsewhere, such as that people in heaven and hell talk to each other. The problem with a strictly figurative interpretation is that it makes it difficult to know what, if anything, to take seriously. If no real conclusions can be derived from the story, what is the value of all its details? Perhaps we should consider an interpretive position that doesn't insist that every detail is literal, but also recognizes that Jesus intended for us to picture people in the afterlife as real humans with thoughts and capacities. and perhaps even forms, and with the same identity, memories, and awareness from their lives and relationships on earth. Surely Jesus intended us to envision both heaven and hell as real places where there are real people who came from earth. Every one of these teachings is directly or indirectly suggested in other passages, but none as graphically or memorably as this one. In the intermediate heaven or hell, we will await the time that Jesus foretold, when all who are in their graves will hear his voice and come out. Those who have done good will rise to live, and those who have done evil will rise to be condemned. Until that day comes, Scripture teaches that those who die will go to a real place, either the present heaven or the present hell, as conscious human beings with memory of their lives and relationships on earth. Those in hell will live in misery, hopelessness, and apparent isolation, while those in heaven will live in comfort, joy, and rich relationship with God and others. And that's the end of chapter 6. That was a long one. Now I want to listen to, I remember when I was a kid, we had like books, Bible stories, for kids with nice art and stuff. I'd like to listen to some of those. I might try to find some audiobooks of children's Bible stories, because I like to listen to kids' books and read them, as you know. If you're familiar with me at all, maybe I'll try to find the Lazarus story in that form to listen to. Let me write it down. Oh, yeah. Good that I put on Hooked on. Oh, I meant to put Hooked on Phonics, but I was talking about South Park at the same time. So I put Hooked on South Park. I used to be. I have like 5 seasons to catch up on. Lazarus. So are there 2 Lazaruses? Because that's Jesus's buddy, it said. His close friends. Lazarus and the rich man. So that was chapter 6. Chapter 7 is, what is life like in the present heaven? I'm going to read the titles of the sections. There's a list. Oh, so the person, the person who had this book before me did some underlining and stuff. They wrote a lot in this upcoming chapter 7. So we can also read this person's notes as we go. I wonder if it was a man or a woman. I think it's a man. Just from looking at the, wow, that looks like my mother's printing. Maybe a woman. I don't know. Can you tell by, I'm sure handwriting experts and stuff could tell that was written by a man or a woman. What do you think? Did a man or a woman have this book before me? Have you watched the series The Chosen? I have not. This is going to be a good chapter. I have not. Let me Google that. The Chosen. That's a TV series? Let me look it up. It's only 9. I want to go to the store and get naughty food. Oh, The Chosen. There are 5 seasons. Woo, I'm still trying to finish the first season of Twin Peaks. No, wait. There were 2 seasons, right? The original Twin Peaks. Yes, I'm on season 2. It's only been 35 years. First thing I want to know, is it American or British? American. The Chosen is an American Christian historical drama television series created, director, about the life and ministry of Jesus of Nazareth, primarily set in Judea and Galilee in the 1st century. Now I'm going to look at some images from it. One of my main things is like the way a movie or a TV show looks. Is this a current? Wait, when is it from? Oh, it's brand new. Or season 5 is current. If I could only see it if it is streaming for free, because I don't pay for any television. You will laugh and you will cry. Can I just watch one episode to see if I like it? I could probably download it somewhere. Wait a minute. I'm back on the Wikipedia thing. I want to look at reception. I don't care about critical response. Not all reception has been positive. I'll look on YouTube and see if I can find a few clips of it, and that'll like give me an idea of what it looks and sounds like. Okay? Because a 5-season television show is like a huge commitment to me. Or can I just like watch an episode from season 3, then watch one from season 1, or is it sequential? Is it like, kind of like watching a soap opera? Although with that, you can skip 2 weeks and you still know what's going on. I'm going to check it out on YouTube. Oh, wait. Have you watched it from the beginning? I see they're in their, yeah. I mean, if I'm like, okay, I'm going to watch this entire series, yes, I would go from the beginning to the end. Where was I? I want to see The Chosen. Can I watch it here? Go back to sleep, baby. Watch. Oh, it says it's streaming now on Prime. You have to pay for that, right? Yeah, I don't have Prime. Do I? I used to. Then I was like, Amazon is so confusing to me now. It's like they have a music streaming thing, and I remember when Amazon first started, and all they had was books. I remember buying books from Amazon, and that's all they had. Well, I definitely can't pay for it, but you have an app on your phone where you watch it for free? What is the app called? If you know. So I'm looking forward to chapter 7. I'll read you the subsection titles. No, but what is the app called? That's the show, but what is the app? I have an Android phone. What is life like in the present heaven? Do heaven's inhabitants remember life on earth? Do people in the present heaven see what is happening on earth? Do people in heaven pray for those on earth? Can it be heaven if people are aware of anything bad on earth? Oh, that's interesting. Can it be heaven if people are aware of anything bad on earth. Let me show you a picture of someone who's very special to me. And one of the main reasons why I want to read about heaven. He is my nephew, Sebastian. He died in 2018. He had leukemia. Oh, The Chosen's the name of the app. Okay, I'm going to look for it when I get my phone. Sebastian died. He was almost 12. He just had his 19th birthday in August, at the end of August. And let me get his picture. It's on my fridge. It's stuck. Does this have a date on it? This is the school picture. This is 2011. Okay, so in this picture, he's 7. He's 7 in this picture. This is Sebastian. He's in heaven now. I can't believe, I don't know about, maybe he'll talk about age in heaven. Well, there's a part about children in heaven, so maybe that'll talk about aging. Like, do you stay the same age? This is Sebastian when he was 7. And he helped me a lot when I was in the hospital with my cancer treatments. Whenever I was scared of something I had to have done, or some drug they were going to give me, and I didn't think I could do it, I thought about Sebastian, and he helps me. I dream about him a lot. That's Sebastian. I miss him. But I know he's in heaven. And he's watching over us all. He is. He was so sweet and sensitive. I feel like we were very much alike in our emotionalness. Emotionalness? That's not a word. I miss him. And this book is giving me a lot of comfort when I think about him. Yeah. Let me grab my phone right now and I will look and see if I can find it. Whoa, my phone just made a sound. Oh my gosh, who called me? Oh, my aunt called. I was on silent or something. I wasn't on silent, but I didn't hear anything. I didn't hear my phone. My aunt called. She just turned 80 the other day, one of my aunts. I'll have to call her back. The Chosen. Let me go into the Play Store. I don't want personalized experiences. Thank you. The Chosen. Watch The Chosen. Every episode. Nothing required. Come and see for yourself. I see this 5 million plus downloads. 5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars. How big is it? I've got a lot of space on this new phone, but let me see. About this app. I just want to see how large it is. It's only 10 megabytes. Okay, I'm going to install it. Does it have ads and things? I mean, I'm used to that. I watch Tubi all the time. And I wish Pluto didn't have so many ads. There's some great stuff on there, but I cannot handle how many commercial breaks there are. And then I told you the other day about the CTV app where I watch old shows like Facts of Life and Golden Girls. That one, I don't know if it's just me, but it freezes up all the time and gets so laggy. And sometimes the commercials I don't know. It's like there are too many, or they start at the time when they shouldn't. They shouldn't. It's too much. But I mean, it's free. I'm not paying for it. So there, I installed it. The Chosen. I don't want them to send me notifications. Wait a minute. You're just getting started. With a free account, you can watch full seasons. Well, let me try to continue as guest. Wow, season 1. Well, son of a gun. It seems to be free. Cool. Okay, well, I've got it here. I watch TV on there, but I also like to watch like right next to my face. I like to watch on this little thing while my TV is tiny. When I go to other people's houses and they have normal or like huge TVs, and then I come back, at first I say, "Oh my gosh, your TV is too freaking big." Then I come back here to my tiny TV, which came with my apartment, and I'm like, I can't see anything. Thank you, Dixie. I am going to check that out and get back to you on that. Okay? Oh, I'm hungry. I'm just going to check and see if my dépanneur, my closest dépanneur, that's like a corner store, it's a French word, is still open. I think they close at 10. Where is it? Don't make me open a map. No, I'm not turning my location on. I don't like having my location on. Oh, here it is. Closes at 10. I can make it. Closes soon. Hey, I think I gave them a review. Nope, not yet. I will, though, because they're nice. I don't really need anything, but I want something. I really got to get myself in. Oh, I wish I didn't have tattoos. That's something else I have to learn about from the Bible. Not that I'm Jewish. I mean, they have lots of rules about tattoos. The Jews do. But I really wish I had listened to my mom. And my kitty cat. Yeah, I'm like, do I have any snacks here? Nothing fun, but I need to cool it with the snacks. Let's see. I've got sour cream. I really want some pierogies, but I don't feel like standing over the frying pan. It's too hot. All right. Well, I hope everyone enjoyed chapter 6. It was a long one. And I'll probably be back tomorrow night. I'm so looking forward to reading the next chapters. And like I said, I'm not going to read them on my own. We're only going to read them together. So that's why I've been so active on the live. So I will probably see you tomorrow. If so, I will schedule it again. Thank you for being here, Dixie. I mean, I know that people will, find it and watch it later, probably, but it's fun to have someone here with me. And I hope that Samuel can join us another time. He was here for our first chapters. And I hope everyone has a great night and take care of yourself. Treat yourself like I'm going to. If I can get my butt out of here before 10. Thank you for listening. God bless you. Aloha.